Is there a way to make leftover pulled pork taste as good as fresh pulled pork? We're about to find out, because that's exactly what we're doing today. I've got some frozen pulled pork reheating with a sous vide machine, as well as a fresh pulled pork that we're gonna do a blind taste test on and find out if we can make it just as good. Hey, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue, and today I'm answering one of your questions, which is, James, now with the pandemic, I can't invite as many people over to share my barbecue with. How do I reheat it the next day and have it taste as good as the day when it came off the grill? Now, I am normally not a fan of sous vide machines. If you saw my reverse sear versus sous vide video, I'll put a link down below and I'll go into more details as to why. But I've got to give it this one, which is reheating barbecue the next day or even many days later if you freeze it. It does a fantastic job. And so to pull this experiment off, I've prepped a pork butt about a month ago, froze the leftovers, and I'm now reheating it at 165 degrees Fahrenheit in our sous vide bath. And side by side, as you saw in the intro, we've been cooking a small pork picnic roast until it's done. And we're going to do a taste test side by side and find out if this reheated method can taste as good or nearly as good as a fresh pulled pork. So to get started for today's cook, I did the normal setup, which is cleaning out our charcoal basket and removing any ash or leftover coals that we didn't want. Then I placed 2 pieces of oak wood right on the bottom of the basket and covered them with some of the remaining charcoal that I had in the basket. I'm using oak wood today because that's exactly what I used on my pulled pork recipe about a month ago, and I don't want to add any extra variables. I also salt brined both roasts overnight using the exact same Diamond Kosher crystal salt, and I seasoned them both with Fogo Black in order to keep things as similar as possible. Once I added a little bit more Jealous Devil charcoal, just because I'm going to be using the iKamand today, I found that it uses a little bit more charcoal than what the Kamado Joe uses if you control your temperatures naturally. And since we've got a lot on the go, I'm not going to be around all day to keep an eye on this. I didn't want to have to even think about needing to add more fuel mid-cook. For our setup today, I'll be using the slow roller. And so before installing the iKamand, I like to let the grill come up to temperature. I start by lighting a fire in the center, closing the dome with just the base of the slow roller installed, and waiting till I see about 200 to 250 degrees on the dome. Once we hit 250 degrees, I then installed the top portion of the slow roller, our divide and conquer rack, as well as our X accessory ring. And I'm using the X accessory ring because I can fit my drip pan from smokeware right in that circle. And so if you haven't seen this on any of my other videos, this pan is the small size, the 10-inch pan, which fits perfectly in the Joe Jr., as well as the Kamado Joe Classic in this application. And I love it for the slow roller for a few reasons. One, helps keep our slow roller clean and not have those fat drippings get on the slow roller. 2 is the taste. Because of not having the fat drippings get on the slow roller, we're not getting that white fat burning smoke, which imparts a bit of a bitter, unpleasant taste in our food. And the way that it does that is by sitting elevated from the top of the slow roller, so it's not actually getting as hot as a drip tray sitting right on the heat source. After that, pretty simple. All we did is just add our grids and install the iKamand and fire it up. I ended up deciding to go on a temperature of 350 degrees Fahrenheit for a little bit of a hotter and faster cook today. And then inserting our probe into our pulled pork roast, I'm gonna go right here into a thick spot and put that on the Kamado Joe, right over our drip pan. Okay, next, since we're using the iKamand, we want to adjust our vents to about the 50% mark on the first line. Okay, so the iKamand just sent me an alert that our pulled pork is done. I came out and checked it for tenderness, and it feels just like we are probing a jar of peanut butter. So that's exactly where we want it. So what I'm gonna do now is pull that off, wrap it in foil, wrap that in a towel, and put that in a cooler. So if you ever hear the FTC method, that's exactly what it is. Foil, towel, cooler. Gonna go ahead and then let that rest inside until we're ready to serve at dinner. And it'll also give the 2 hours or so that we need for our sous vide reheated pulled pork that I'm cooking, or reheating I should say, at 165 degrees to come back up to about the exact same temperature. Anyways, I'll put a quick screenshot up here just so you can have a look. The iKamand did an amazing job holding temps today. That line is incredibly flat. I was thinking of doing a video man versus machine to see if I could beat it, but this line has me a little concerned at my chances. Let me know in the comments down below if you'd like to see that, and I'll move the camera a touch closer just so you can see exactly how we're gonna wrap up this pork. Okay, so that's it. So now that we've got our pork off and resting, all that's left to do is let the sous vide on thaw and bring back up to temperature to about 165 degrees Fahrenheit our frozen pulled pork, and we are ready for our taste test. So I'll rejoin you a little bit later once this is up to temperature and our pulled pork has had time to rest, and I'll go ahead, shred the same sauce, and get ready to find out if we can reheat pulled pork and make it just as good as the fresh stuff. Hey guys, time for our taste test, and it wouldn't be a weekend here without rain when I'm trying to make a video, but to help pick a winner, I brought my wife along to do a blind taste test. Now you saw on the video earlier, you know which one has the sous vide and the other container has our fresh pulled pork. I've added sauce to each and we've cooked them exactly the same smoke wood, same seasoning. So why don't you go ahead and grab a fork and take a bite of the first one. Okay. Tell me what you think, and we'll do the second one, and I'll do the same. All right, what do you think of pulled pork number one?
It's good. It's nice. It has pretty good texture. The sauce is tasty. It's warm and smoky. It's really yummy. I would say it's not tough. That's not the right word for it. But it does feel a little... No, I know. It's very tender.
Keep going. It's all right. Someone's sleeping on the couch tonight.
No. It's not tough at all. It just tastes a little, I don't know what the word is. Maybe not dry because it has a lot of sauce on it. It's just not as mouth-watering, maybe.
Sure. Well, why don't you try this one?
All right.
See if we do any better.
I don't know. Okay, they're so similar. I would say this one, oh goodness, I don't know. They're so similar, it's hard to tell. This one is really yummy. Goodness, both of them, the smoke is great. This one is perfect to me. It's like smoky, really good flavor, tender. This one, there are some mushy parts in it, maybe?
Let me try.
I don't know, you try and see what you think.
Just go ahead and get a smoking dad size bite of the first one. See what you mean. Smoke is there, bark is surprisingly good, but a little bit more chew to it. Let's try this one.
Right? There's some chew to it, but a little mushy too, right?
Yeah.
It's like different that way.
Winner. Close.
But really close, I know.
Okay, so let me tell you which of these two is, actually, why don't you guess? Which one's which? Which one is reheated, frozen for a month, in a bag, and then reheated?
Right.
And which one did I cook today?
They're so good, both of them. It is hard to tell, which is amazing to me that it's hard to tell. I think just because this one, even though the chew is similar to this one's a little mushier, so I'm going to assume that this one was frozen and then reheated in sous vide.
Exactly.
Was that right?
That's it. That's
okay,
the one.
so I'm going to just take this one and I'm going to go eat this one.
I'll do the recap then. All right, let's do a quick recap. All right, well, Sarah might have taken off to get out of the rain, but you know what? Grill puppy didn't. She loves hanging out here by the barbecue, growing like a weed, got her first haircut. So in terms of a quick recap, the fact that's actually hard to tell the difference is amazing. So if we had to put a percentage to this, I'm gonna go ahead and say it's about 95% as good as the fresh stuff. Definitely the bark is not providing as much texture as what you get in the fresh stuff, where you get all sorts of different textures. You get soft, you get some nice chew, and then you get a little crunch and crisp of that bark, and you're not getting that on the reheated pulled pork. but everything else is almost indistinguishable, which is incredible. So I'll go ahead and put links down below if you want to check out. Again, I've mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of a sous vide machine. As far as I can tell, they all do the same thing, so I'm not a big fan of spending a lot of money. So I found one that was rated well and was one of the least expensive ones on Amazon. It was made by Inkbird, and for purposes like this, I think it's a great tool to have. The only other thing you need to make it work is if your Costco or big box store or Amazon is a vac sealed system, so you can go ahead and seal up your leftovers and put them away. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and let YouTube know by smashing the thumbs up button, and let me know by hitting subscribe. If there's an idea you'd like to see in a future video, go ahead and add that to the comments. And until next time, don't be afraid to fire it up. I'm James from Smokin' Dad BBQ, saying goodnight.